Deion Sanders is missing from Colorado's campus. Should fans be concerned?
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I'm Kevin Borba, host of Locked On Buffs, and I also cover the Buffs and all things college football over at Athlon Sports. So go check me out there. Check me out here. Like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage because we're free and available for each podcast. So Deion Sanders is not on campus, and he's missing some Colorado events, and I think there's some room for concern here and there, but this is the latest on the situation. So USA Today's Brett Schoenborn, I believe is how you say it. I probably butchered that. I apologize. Reported that Colorado head coach Deion Sanders, has been away at his home in Texas, and he has an unspecified health issue, which has appeared to prevent him from returning to Boulder. On Sunday, during a well-off media video, his son Deion Jr., or it was a live stream, and his father said he was feeling well in that video, and then Deion Jr. also said he'll tell y'all soon enough what he went through. When someone asked when they would return back to Boulder, he said, when we get back to Boulder, I don't know. And that was on June 8th, so literally Sunday. I'm waiting until my dad leaves. When he leaves, then I'll go. Until then, I'm going to sit here with him. If you guys remember, Coach Prime has had some health issues in years past, right? He had some blood clots that led to him missing the Pac-12 Media Day in Las Vegas in 2023. He's also had multiple surgeries to remove blood clots in his legs. He's had toes amputated. And he's had part of his left calf removed. So he's obviously had health problems before. And even when he made an appearance on NFL Corner, Asante Samuel's podcast in late May, it was clear that something was wrong because Samuel told him, I hope you feel better. And then asked him if he tried fasting, which led to Prime saying, what I'm dealing with right now is a whole nother level. And whatever it is caused him to lose 14 pounds. So Deion Sanders is currently battling through something. One, if you're a Colorado fan, I think there has to be a little bit of concern, right? Not in the sense of like, oh no, like what is this going to do to our season? But you want to be concerned for your head coach as a person, for his personal health, right? You never want anyone to be sick and or dealing with something. And clearly Coach Prime he's battling something. I don't want to speculate on what it is because I'm not a medical professional. I don't know him personally like that to be like, oh, it's this, or this. Like, I don't know. All I'm saying is based off this report, clearly something is affecting Deion Sanders in a negative way. And he's currently not able to attend these camps that Colorado's having. And so Colorado's currently having summer football camps they started last week in Boulder, whether it's for the youth or high school football players and eligible high school graduates. Those were last week. He has a youth football camp this week and a women's clinic on Thursday. The program has yet to address his absence, and they've yet to address if he will be at the upcoming camps. And then obviously Colorado begins football or their season on August 29th at home against Georgia Tech. So clearly you hope that whatever it is something that just requires rest, recovery, whatever he's doing, and that's all that it takes. I mean, if he needs a procedure for whatever it is, possibly, who knows? You hope it's not life-threatening. You hope that Deion Sanders, the person, is okay. And then if you're right, I think Deion Sanders, the person, first and foremost, is the main priority. And I don't want people to twist this around and make it seem like I'm only talking about the football aspect. But Deion Sanders, the person, the human, his health isn't priority number one. Obviously, he's been through a ton. As a Colorado fan, you do feel a little concerned in the sense of like you want your head coach there. You want him to be able to be leading his squad, sort of just gelling with these new players and figuring out things. But at the end of the day, Deion Sanders' staff is equipped to handle this without him, right? And I that's the worst case scenario. That's code red. That's code whatever, where it's like, oh, shoot, we have to operate without Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders has Pat Shurmur on his staff, right? Former head coach. Deion Sanders has Robert Livingston, former NFL defensive coordinator, who is definitely probably going to be a head coach one day, whether it's next year or the year after. I don't know if it's going to be at the NFL level, at the college football level, but he is destined to be a head coach, right? Warren Sapp, I don't know if he'll become a head coach, but he's a guy who brings a ton of energy. Marshall Faulk is one of the smartest football players to ever grace the sport. And there's so many more people on the staff where I'm obviously leaving a couple guys out here and there, but there's so many bright minds on this staff where if push comes to shove, the program is going to be in good hands, right? The strength and conditioning coaches are keeping things on lock. They got guys in good shape, looking shredded, looking cut. The coaches around them, right? They are experienced enough to manage this, right? This isn't like he has a green recruiting or a green staff where it's like, oh shoot, like if he's not going to come, then like this team's going to fall apart. No, he has coaches he could rely on. He has veteran players he can rely on. And all that Colorado fans should be hoping for or looking out for is Deion Sanders getting healthy himself, right? Because at the end of the day, we care about Deion Sanders, the person. Obviously, we love him as Coach Prime, but Deion Sanders, the person, obviously trumps any football aspect of it. I do think that if it develops into a more serious situation, then I will reevaluate and sort of discuss how I think this could affect Colorado. But at the end of the day, I think for now, they don't seem too worried. So, or at least that's not how it came off. So I don't think we, as the people on the outside looking in of this situation in particular, should be worried, or at least not yet. When we come back, when we come back, the laws are changing around college football. How does that affect the Colorado Buffaloes? I think it works out in their favor tremendously. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Tyrese Halliburton, walking triple-double. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a walking 30 points. Do with that what you will, right? The NBA Finals, I feel like it's down to those two guys, right? I think whoever wins the NBA Finals, it's going to be the better player of those two guys. And, I mean, the best of the best is what it is. So, if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time for you to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available over each podcast, so make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. I'm Kevin Borba. I'm covered Colorado for Athlon Sports for the Locked On Buffs, and let's talk about the biggest story in college football, which I think works wonders for Deion Sanders. Ding dong, the witch, aka the NCAA, is dead, or at least is heading towards a slow passing, if you will. The other day, the House versus settlement was granted final approval on Friday, so last Friday, which means schools can now, Division I schools that is, can begin directly paying their athletes legally for an annual revenue share pool capped at roughly $20.5 million per school in year one. So this upcoming year, $20.5 million. The top football programs are still going to be paying $40 to $50 million. Obviously, that's NIL is also a factor. But from a budgeting perspective, the annual sort of number that everyone seems to be getting, right? This is a quote from The Athletic. Quote, the most prominent football programs expect to have about $15 million of that pool at their disposal, with top programs supplementing that budget with third-party over-the-cap NIL deals. Obviously, NIL deals are also going to be a factor, but the settlement also establishes a clearinghouse dubbed NIL Go and managed by the accounting firm Deloitte, which instructs athletes they have to self-report, any third-party NIL deals worth $600 or more for review. So say Kevin Borba inks a deal with, I don't know, Nike, we'll say, for $1 million. I have to run it through the clearinghouse and make sure that it's a valid business proposal, and it has to fall within the approved range or it'll be flagged and must be adjusted or taken to arbitration. So long story short, they're trying to even the playing field. And if you're the Big 12 or the ACC, this works wonders. And if you're Deion Sanders in Colorado, this works a lot of wonders, because let me explain. In reality, there's a few things that obviously there's a lot going on with this, and it's going to change every year. The salary cap is going to go up. Certain programs are going to figure out ways around it. They're going to have higher budgets. That's life. That's just how this is going to be. That's how it's always been. However, if you're a program like Colorado, who has Deion Sanders, who has arguably one of the most electric coaches in college football, he's one of the highest paid coaches in college football. I think he's one of the most sought after coaches in college football in terms of players wanting to play for him. But there's a couple things holding him back. One, you're not in the SEC, and that's always been or will be a thing with Deion Sanders at Colorado, right? A lot of the guys that he's recruiting are in that southern footprint: Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Texas, Alabama, whatever it is. They're all in that vicinity. Just want to stay in the SEC, right? The SEC produces the most pros. They're typically viewed as the best conference, even though the Big Ten has taken over that title for the past couple of years. But the biggest thing holding Colorado back, and I think this was one of the bigger, I guess, tie-ups when Deion Sanders was trying to negotiate a new contract extension, was he wanted more investment in NIL funding from the program, from Colorado. He wanted more support. This gives him that support, right? Assuming Colorado doesn't absolutely butcher this and is like, you know what, you only get $5 million and we're going to give $1 million here, $1 million there, $2 million to badminton or whatever it is, right? Colorado can now at least be on somewhat of an even playing field financially than some of these other huge monster programs. Again, NIL deals are always going to be a thing. Colorado's NIL backing isn't nearly as lucrative as, say, Texas or Michigan, who has a random billionaire fan or who has a billionaire whose wife went to Michigan and is just like, hey, I want us to be really good at football, or like softball, where they have Texas Tech has an oil guy. I don't know what the proper term would be. An oil guy just being like, you know what? I really want Texas Tech to be good at things, so I'm just going to start going all in on softball. Here's $1 million for a softball pitcher. Here's $10 million for a transfer portal class, right? Colorado has not been that. They probably won't be that unless some, I guess, alum comes forward and is like, you know what? I want to invest my money into Colorado to make them superior, right? Because at the end of the day, and I never understood how NIL was sustainable. It's not really, you're not really getting an ROI, return on investment, unless your main passion is just your school winning. And even then, it's like, what does that do for you? Like, obviously, I'm sure the schools are like, oh, this guy donates millions of dollars, so he gets free seats. He gets to travel with the team. He gets to sit in on recruiting meetings or whatever, right? I'm sure they get perks. Even if that's not allowed, I'm sure it happens. But at the end of the day, it's like, what is the ROI here? And so I think this helps even the playing field for Colorado. I think Colorado has already proven that they could be a strong recruiting program, right? Deion Sanders put together a top 25 class in about 10 minutes on the job. When he first got the job, he has put together top 25 transfer portal classes each year. Now, with extra money at his disposal, I think there's going to be more talent acquisition possible, or there's going to be more talent acquisition possibilities for the Buffs, right? And I think for a team like Colorado, who is, let's see, say they win the Big 12 and obviously they make the playoff, Colorado is the Big 12's best bet at being that national powerhouse. And I firmly believe that, right? You could say it's Utah because they have a better history with Kyle Whittingham. You could say it's BYU because they're trending up. You could say it's Iowa State because they're trending up or whatever. But none of them have the brand big enough to be the face of the Big 12. None of them have the brand big enough to be a face of college football. And so that is something that is attainable for Deion Sanders and the Buffs. And so having, we'll say, $15 million at their disposal to build a roster to play for Deion Sanders, who's been recruiting quite well, I think that's a pretty big deal. At the end of the day, like, Colorado's not going to out money these people, but Deion Sanders has already been out recruiting certain programs without the funds. Now he's going to get the funds. Look out, college football. That could be a bit scary if you're a program not named Colorado, right? Every program is going to benefit differently. This is going to help some programs get in the mix. For a program like Colorado, who's already in the mix, and maybe it's just a few financial happenings away, this could be the difference between a top 25 class, top 20 class, and a top 10 class. And Deion Sanders with a top 10 class, that's a class that can help take over college football. So that's all I got to say on that matter. Comment below, what position, what player, what recruiting class would you invest in the most if you were Colorado? Let me know what you guys think. When we come back, we're going to be talking about where Shedeur Sanders currently stands with the Cleveland Browns. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. Let's talk about Shedeur Sanders. He's out there in Cleveland. There's been very conflicting reports on the matter. Let's see. I'm trying to pull up his stats right here. I saw from one of Cleveland's main reporters, Mary Kay Cabot, I believe is how you say it, or Cabot. Sorry, I don't know her name that well. She reported how he's doing at this time. And how Shedeur Sanders is doing at this time is he's the fourth string quarterback, right? And it sounds like the Browns really want to see who's made of, or who's got it between Dillon Gabriel and Kenny Pickett. All right, they traded for Kenny Pickett. They spent a third-round pick on Dillon Gabriel. So that shows they have some sort of investment. The last OTAs update we've got, the most recent OTAs update we've gotten about Shedeur was he had a pretty solid day, right? 9 hours ago, day 4, I believe it was. 16-23, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. Joe Flacco was 13-21 for a touchdown. Kenny Pickett, 18-31 for a 2. Dillon Gabriel, 22 of 36 for 5. According to Mary Kay, Shedeur is behind in terms of where he's at developmental wise. She said that a lot of the times he is on a separate field because he's still learning the system, right? So clearly it seems Dillon Gabriel has progressed quicker than he has, or the Browns are adjusting to Dillon Gabriel quicker. Kenny Pickett is further along. Obviously, he's a veteran. And then the way she made it seem was Joe Flacco knows the system. So Joe Flacco's kind of doing his own thing. He's 40 years old. I think a lot of people wanted to be upset at the Shedeur Sanders update. He's fourth string. Why isn't he starting? He's putting up great stats, right? And it's like, why? He's not doing this. At the end of the day, Shedeur Sanders just needs to claim a roster spot. He doesn't need to be QB1 for week 1. Like, would that be cool? Sure, right? Would that prove a lot of people wrong? Absolutely. Can he still prove people wrong if he starts week 12? Yes, he can, right? I think so many people are dialed in on this offseason of like, what will Shedeur do? What is going to happen to Shedeur? Is he going to start right away? And it's like, guys, pump the brakes, right? Shedeur is, he still has a ways to go. He's a rookie. 6th-round pick at that. He's not getting a lot of first-team reps, if any, right? Those are being distributed to the other 3. And even if he does get some, it's probably like 10 or 5, right? He's not going to get a ton. He has to work his way up the depth chart. And so I think it's sort of a learning moment from him. I think Shedeur has handled falling in the draft well. I think he's handled being QB4 well, right? He's been out in the community. He's obviously trying to pick Joe Flacco's brain, even though I think people overlook how good Joe Flacco is or was. Joe Flacco has a lot of knowledge to offer, right? He's been in the NFL. I told you guys this on last Friday, I think it was. By the time Joe Flacco was a rookie, Deion Sanders had retired from the NFL for the second time, and he was on the Ravens like 3 years prior. So they almost overlapped, right? So Joe Flacco has been in the league for all of my life, pretty much. I'm 25, turning 26. And that's obviously a rough estimation for Joe Flacco's career, but he has 20-ish years of NFL experience. And so Shedeur has been around him a lot. He's been trying to learn a lot. He's been trying to be the ultimate teammate. There's been no complaints out of Cleveland Browns camp about him trying to be bigger than who he is or having this persona of like, oh, I'm better than everybody. I think he's just the low man on the totem pole right now, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay like that. So I'm firmly confident that Shedeur Sanders will be the starter for the Cleveland Browns eventually. But as of right now, he is the 4th string quarterback and has some work to do. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow. Give me 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast so we can continue to grow this channel, continue to have some fun, and so that way you have a go-to place for all things Colorado Buffaloes. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a happy Monday, all of you.